What if the timeline of our existence is far shorter and more intense than science would have you believe, hiding a cosmic mystery that challenges everything we think we know about the age of the universe? While modern textbooks speak of billions of years, ancient scriptures whisper a different reality, a world forged in 6 days, shaped by global cataclysms, and racing toward a divine deadline that may be closer than you imagine. From the vanished years of the Jewish calendar to the mysterious divine time that defies human logic, we are about to unlock a chronological code that has baffled scholars for millennia, questioning if the Earth is merely 6,000 years old, or if we are missing a secret key hidden in the silence between Genesis and the Apocalypse. This isn't just history. It is the countdown to eternity, so before we shatter the conventional timeline, make sure you are part of this revelation by hitting that subscribe button, liking this video, and sharing it with those seeking the truth. For you are now watching Guardians of the Covenant, and what we uncover today might just change how you see the past, the present, and the very end of days. What if the timeline of our existence is far shorter and more intense than science would have you believe, hiding a cosmic mystery that challenges everything we think we know about the age of the universe? For while modern textbooks speak of billions of years drifting slowly through the cosmos, ancient scriptures whisper a different reality, a world forged with purpose in 6 days, shaped by global cataclysms and racing toward a divine deadline that may be closer than you imagine. From the vanished years of the Jewish calendar to the mysterious divine time that defies human logic, we are about to unlock a chronological code that has baffled scholars for millennia, finding ourselves asking if the Earth is merely 6,000 years old, or if we are missing a secret key hidden in the silence between Genesis and the Apocalypse. This isn't just a history lesson, it is the countdown to eternity. So before we shatter the conventional timeline and uncover truths that have been buried under the sands of time, make sure you are part of this revelation by subscribing, liking this video, and sharing it with those seeking the truth. For you are now watching Guardians of the Covenant, and what we uncover today might just change how you see the past, the present, and the very end of days. Have you ever truly paused, perhaps in the quiet of the night, to reflect on the real age of the world beneath your feet, wandering from the earliest breath of Adam to the complex modern times in which we live? How this ancient question has sparked intense debates that echo through the corridors of centuries, especially when we find ourselves comparing different ways of keeping time, such as the sacred rhythm of the Jewish calendar versus the pragmatic Gregorian calendar we use today. Both narrate the passage of centuries, yet they start from fundamentally different assumptions. And when we try to reconstruct the chronology that begins with the creation of Adam and Eve, crosses the pivotal era of Jesus Christ and reaches our own days, we are faced with a profound riddle regarding the true age of the Earth. Modern science points to a planet aged by millions, perhaps billions of years, relying on the steady decay of radioactive isotopes and the distant light of stars. But what do the Holy Scriptures, the very breath of God, say about this question? For in this documentary we will traverse the timeline of the world in the light of the Bible, analyzing ancient texts, deep theological concepts, and interpretations that have spanned centuries to reveal truths that may challenge widely accepted concepts and surprise you. The Bible presents a narrative that begins with the majestic act of creation, where according to the account of Genesis, God created all things in 6 days and set apart the 7th day for a holy rest. An account that is not merely a poetic description of the universe's origin, but the foundation of a chronological system known as Anno Mundi, the year of the world, which seeks to calculate the time elapsed since Adam to the present moment. Throughout Jewish and Christian history, devoted scholars have dedicated their lives to adding up genealogies, reigns, and biblical events to understand this divine count, resulting in calculations that vary according to interpretive traditions, standing in contrast to the vast timescales of contemporary science. Biblical creationism presents different currents of thought, with some faithfully advocating for a young Earth, approximately 6,000 years old, based on a literal reading of the biblical generations, while others propose an age slightly older, yet still within a relatively close range. And there are also profound interpretations that view the days of creation symbolically, understanding them as long epochs, possibly equivalent to 1,000 years each. A perspective that opens up space for an understanding that approaches more closely the scientific chronology based on texts such as 2 Peter 3:8, which reminds us that for the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. From this perspective, theories emerge that place the age of the world around 6,000 years, while others extend this period to about 12,000 years or more, considering the intervals between generations and the time periods not explicitly recorded. An alternative and fascinating view suggests that the first 6 days of creation follow a linear count, while the seventh day, the day of God's rest, transcends human time entirely and is inserted into what is called divine time, or kairos, meaning the seventh day would not be limited by the ticking clock of the earth, but would remain open and eternal, preparing the stage for the unfolding of history that continues to this day and reveals much more ahead. From this interpretation, some scholars propose that the world has about 12,000 years of existence, a calculation arising from the combination of the approximately 6,000 years counted from the beginning of creation to the present times, added to an equivalent period associated with that mysterious divine time. This reading does not arise randomly, but is the result of meticulous analyses of biblical chronology, supported by centuries of studying genealogy and historical references scattered throughout the scriptures from Genesis and Exodus to Judges, Chronicles, Matthew, and Luke. The biblical genealogies play a central role in this process, as they do not just record names but establish a continuous living chain of generations that links Adam to well-known historical figures, serving as true temporal milestones that allow the reconstruction of historical periods and offering a broader view of the progression of humanity according to the biblical account. Throughout the centuries, theologians and historians have dedicated themselves to this work, aiming to understand not only the dates but the spiritual meaning behind this succession of generations, an approach that reflects a constant attempt to harmonize the historical dimension of the Bible with its theological depth. By considering concepts such as kairos, this interpretation expands the dialogue between our human perception of time and God's eternal perspective, resulting in a reading that recognizes both the literal and symbolic value of the sacred texts. Our analysis begins in the book of Genesis, chapter 5, where we find the genealogy that connects Adam to Noah, establishing the first foundations of this timeline, before moving to chapter 10, known as the Table of Nations, which describes the descendants of Noah and the origin of many ancient peoples, and continuing in Genesis chapter 11, which presents the narrative of the Tower of Babel and introduces the lineage of Abraham, a character fundamental to the development of biblical history. From Abraham's genealogy, we expand our investigation by referring to other books of the scriptures such as Chronicles, Matthew, and Luke, which add important details to this line of succession. Records that, when compared with historical data on kings, empires, and events of antiquity, contribute to the construction of a detailed chronology, allowing us to trace a continuous line from the beginnings of humanity to the events that shaped our civilization. Among the historical figures mentioned in the scriptures, we find rulers whose existence is confirmed by hard archaeological evidence, turning legends into concrete facts, such as Nebuchadnezzar, the powerful king of Babylon, and Ashurbanipal, the wise sovereign of Assyria, whose inscriptions on clay tablets and stone monuments not only date their reigns, but also provide a precise backdrop for biblical events like the captivity of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple. Similarly, King Cyrus of Persia emerges not only as a biblical figure, but as a real monarch whose policies of religious tolerance, recorded on ancient clay cylinders, allowed the return of the Jewish exiles to their land, functioning as true historical anchor points that allow biblical events to be placed with greater precision within the timeline of the ancient world. From this solid foundation, and through a careful analysis of the genealogies described in the scriptures, scholars have proposed a specific date for the Great Flood, calculating that this cataclysm occurred in the year 1756, since the creation of the world, an event that transcends a mere catastrophe and is understood as a watershed in human history. A divine judgment that marked the end of an era of corruption and the beginning of a new promise by cleansing the world so that a lineage of faith could begin. Within the creationist tradition, history is often organized into great periods, where the first 1,656 years correspond to the pre-flood era, a time described as marked by extraordinary human longevity and when giants known as Nephilim still walked the earth. A time known for a progressive moral corruption where the imagination of the human heart constantly turned towards evil, culminating in the judgment that purified the earth. After this cataclysm, the narrative advances to the period of Abraham, situated approximately 2,000 years after creation, marking a new phase of biblical history that extends for about 1,000 years and includes central figures such as Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, covering the formation of the 12 tribes of Israel, their migration to Egypt, and the long captivity that would shape the identity of the Hebrew people, forging a chosen nation through pain and redemption. These events are not just historical but spiritual, as they establish covenants, promises, and fundamental directions within the divine plan, leading us to the time of Moses, traditionally dated by many scholars around 1445 BC. This moment inaugurates a new stage in the history of Israel, marked by the Exodus, the liberation from Egyptian slavery, and the delivery of the law on Mount Sinai, events that redefine the relationship between God and his people by establishing an eternal covenant based on the 10 Commandments and rituals of holiness that would shape the national identity for millennia, proving that the Exodus was not just an escape from oppression, but the birth of a chosen people whose journey through the desert represented a spiritual journey of divine dependence and the learning of righteousness. Following the foundational era of Moses, the biblical narrative descends into the turbulent yet fascinating period of the Judges, an era of transition characterized by decentralized leadership, where the hearts of the people often drifted like sand in the wind, leading to repeated cycles of spiritual turning away, crisis, and restoration. This period, which spanned approximately 350 years, witnessed the rise of figures such as Gideon, Deborah, Samson, and Samuel, who were not merely military strategists, but charismatic vessels of divine will, rising in times of shadow to lead the people back to their covenant with God, functioning as both prophets and administrators of justice according to the ancient law of Moses. These centuries paved the rugged road for the establishment of the monarchy, a new dawn initiated with Saul and consolidated by the warrior poet King David, who transformed Israel into a unified and formidable nation through military conquests and centralized administration, passing the torch to his son Solomon. Known for his unparalleled wisdom, Solomon brought the kingdom to its political and cultural zenith, culminating in the construction of the Temple in Jerusalem, a breathtaking structure that stood not just as an architectural marvel, but as the beating heart of the nation, a symbol of divine glory and unity that attracted pilgrims from all tribes. However, as history often reminds us, great heights can precede great falls, and after Solomon's death, the unity of the Kingdom of Israel was shattered, marking the beginning of a prolonged period of political and spiritual instability, where the division between the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah created a fracture that would never fully heal. In Judah, Rehoboam assumed the throne, while in the north, A succession of kings often marked by unfaithfulness led the nation on a path of constant conflict, a fragmentation that weakened both kingdoms and left them vulnerable to the rising tides of empires such as Assyria and Babylon, predators who took advantage of this disunity to expand their iron dominion. Over time, this fragility culminated in two distinctive traumatic events that scarred the collective memory of the Hebrew people. First, as the kingdom of Israel was struck by the Assyrian captivity and dispersed among the nations, and later as Judah faced the devastating Babylonian captivity, one of the most dramatic turning points in all of biblical history, which redefined their spiritual identity, now marked by the agonizing loss of their land and their holy temple. In this dramatic scenario, the Neo-Babylonian Empire assumes a central role, reaching its peak under the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled from approximately 604 BC to 562 BC, leading an impressive territorial expansion that elevated Babylon to the status of a dominant power. Among his most notable conquests was the taking of Jerusalem in 586 BC, an event that culminated in the destruction of the temple and the exile of the people of Judah, an episode representing a profound historical and spiritual rupture that ended an era. Yet, even the mightiest empires are but dust in the wind of time, for with the decline of Babylon, dominion passed to the Persian Empire, later consolidated into the Medo-Persian Empire, before being surpassed by the lightning-fast expansion of the Greco-Macedonians led by Alexander the Great, whose conquests redrew the map of the ancient world. Eventually, this empire would give way to an even more enduring force, the Roman Empire, so that when Jesus Christ, the Messiah and Savior, was born, Rome had already reached the absolute peak of its power under Emperor Augustus Octavian. Having consolidated his dominion after the decisive Battle of Actium in 31 BC, Augustus ruled an empire that extended from the Iberian Peninsula to the Middle East, dividing territories into provinces governed by procurators, a system that shaped the political landscape of the New Testament. Judea, the region where Jesus was born, lived under strong political and religious tension, governed directly by Rome and subject to rigorous taxes and surveillance, a powder keg of history where Pontius Pilate served as procurator between the years 26 and 36 AD, becoming a decisive figure in the events that culminated in the crucifixion of Christ, an event that would forever split the timeline of history. From that pivotal moment until our present time in 2025, approaching 2026, about 2,000 years have passed, and throughout this extensive period, Jewish scholars have relied on the Jewish calendar as a basis for dating historical events, counting the years from the creation of Adam to the present day. However, it is important to recognize that the Jewish calendar as it is used today may present inaccuracies accumulated over the centuries, sparking a debate around the so-called forgotten centuries, or lost years, a complex and intriguing issue involving gaps in the chronological count during periods of foreign rule. According to the Jewish calendar, we currently live in the year 5686, a count that begins on Rosh Hashanah, literally meaning head of the year, a period dedicated to introspection and renewal. Yet many Christian scholars, in recognizing Jesus as the promised Messiah, suggest that the history of the world may extend for at least 3 or 4 centuries beyond this count. This difference leads us to a fascinating divergence in how we view the age of the world. For while the traditional Christian view often attributes an age of approximately 6,000 years to the earth based on the literal reading of biblical genealogies, there are interpretations that expand this perspective to about 12,000 years or more. This alternative reading is based on the profound biblical idea found in texts like 2 Peter, stating that for God, a day is equivalent to 1,000 years, suggesting that the days of creation could represent long symbolic periods, revealing a deeper dimension of the biblical account without necessarily invalidating it, while modern science points to a planet aged by billions of years. Faced with all this information, an inevitable question arises. Which of these views makes more sense to you? Do you identify with the estimate of approximately 5,786 years presented by the Jewish calendar? Do you agree with the Christian tradition that points to about 6,000 years? Or do you consider the interpretation of 12,000 years, which understands the days of creation as symbolic periods, to be more coherent? And if you believe the world is billions of years old, your perspective is also valid and deserves reflection. These questions do not seek to impose a definitive answer, but to invite you to look deeper into the mysteries of our existence. For the timeline of God is a tapestry woven with threads of history, faith, and eternity. We hope this content has awakened in you a desire to delve deeper into this fascinating topic, and if you have found value in this journey through time, we invite you to join our growing community of truth seekers. Please subscribe to our channel, Guardians of the Covenant, like this video to help spread the message, and share your thoughts in the comments below, for together we will continue to uncover the mysteries of the past to understand our future. May God be with you all, and we will see you soon.